Hey, CS Psychos, Rachel Proban here, and today we're going to be going over some of my favorite tools that have helped me stay sane as a CS leader, both in terms of productivity and in terms of just not going stark raving bonkers. We're going to get into a tool that lets you build out knowledge centers twice as fast or show people how to delegate something a lot easier. Another tool that will show you how to outsource your brain when you have a million things coming at you so that nothing slips through the cracks, and how to actually focus so that you can really get things done. That's all coming up next right here on Psychology of Customer Success. Stay tuned.
Humans don't think or behave like computers. You can't just run a command and get them to do what you want them to do. So why are you still basing your CS strategy based solely on logic? I'm Rachel Proban, CS leadership coach, award-winning CS strategist, and certified psych nerd. I teach CS leaders how to build and scale world-class CS departments using a combination of strategy, leadership, and mindset, using my secret weapon, psychology. Come join me every Wednesday for Psychology of Customer Success, where we'll dive into why people do the things they do, what motivates them, and the effect that has on your CS strategy, team dynamics, and executive presence. Make sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure to share it with your CS bestie. Talk soon, and here's to your success.
Okay, welcome back. I know this is a little bit different than what I usually cover. I'm not usually talking about products. This is really the stuff that I share with my friends, honestly. It's become somewhat of a joke that I just happen to know a lot about a lot of really cool tools and apps, and none of us really knows how I know these things or why, but I just seem to find a lot of them. I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, both in customer success, psychology, other things just that are random, like The Strategist. I'm always reading. I'm always looking for how to build a better mousetrap, so to speak. This is the stuff that I share with people I love that has made a huge difference in my life, because trying to do everything that you have to do as a CS leader is a pretty monumental task. To keep track of it, to accomplish what needs to be done, reprioritize, and still live a happy, balanced life, you're probably not going to get that with just pen and paper or a spreadsheet. Now, in full disclosure, there is one in here that I am an affiliate for, meaning if you use them and buy them through my link, I get a small commission, no cost to you or anything. The rest of these, I just want you to know about them because, again, game changers for me. So the one that I am affiliated with is Fathom Notetaker, and we can get started with that because why not? I just mentioned it. If you've been on a Zoom call with me in the past year or two, you've probably seen me talk about this, share my screen, and make you take a look at it because I love it so much. Both when I was in CS as well as now being a coach, there's a lot of times when you're listening to people, you need to remember what happened. You need to note the key points and even be able to replay some of them. And you need to be able to send a summary email after the fact, document it somewhere. All these things take time and energy. When I started seeing clients, I thought I could easily have 20 clients at a time, one-on-one every week, no problem, because that's only 20 hours of work. You could have 100 clients because, well, how often do they really renew? You only have to see them quarterly. No, neither of those things are true either in CS or coaching. There's a lot more administrative back-end stuff to do. And this takes care of one of, in my opinion, the most annoying parts of it. Because I don't know about you, when I'm talking to anyone, when I'm talking to a client, when I'm talking to a business partner, when I'm talking to a company, I want to be able to just focus on them and focus on the conversation and not have to be frantically typing notes that I'm honestly probably never going to look back at, or writing things down longhand so I actually remember it. I always do take notes because I am aware that things will absolutely fall out of my head 5 minutes later. But it takes its toll. You don't want to be like, hey, stop talking a minute so that I can write down what you said. People will do that, but it just kind of breaks the conversation. It breaks the flow. and you don't get people to open up as much, which, do not be confused. You need them to do that absolutely every bit as much in leadership, in customer success, as you would in coaching. Because of that, we don't want to break that connection by having to take notes or them hearing us like tapping away and not really tuned in on them. I'm sure you've seen an AI note taker before. This is the one I happen to use because it has certain features that I really like. For something that is free and straightforward, what Fathom does is it records your entire call, you and the other person, whoever's on the call. It creates a full transcript and it breaks it down into chapters so that you can see, all right, these were the highlights of what we talked about. It gives you keynotes and highlights. If you notice somebody is saying something important, you can click a button and it will go back to the beginning of what that person was saying and create a highlight. Anytime you want to check one out, you just click on the highlight and it will bring you to that point in both the script and the video. That's incredibly helpful when you're like, what did this person say that last time? Or I really wanted to share this with product because this was a really important insight, and hearing it from the customer is going to be much more impactful than hearing it from me. You can just zoom to that clip and download just that clip and send it to them. It's miraculous. The other thing I love that it does is that it will create a summary that you can look at. I tend to do this every time I talk to someone. I just look at the last time I talked to them on sort of the homepage that they have. I see what we talked about last time. I look at the summary and it immediately comes back to me. Oh yeah, these are the things we covered. Great, I'm all set. My recent favorite is it actually creates kind of a to-do list, the action items that were listed in there, creates a little checklist for that. And if you want, if you click a button, it will create a follow-up email that basically says, hey, great chatting with you. Here's what we went over. And here's what I'm going to do. Here's what you need to do. Talk soon. If you want a link to the recording, here it is. It is really good. Now, I am someone who uses AI, but I find a lot of it to be quite janky at this point. I see the potential. I see how amazing it's going to be. And it could be that I am just not very good at prompting it yet. But this is one of those things where it's like, oh, you actually got this right. It sounds like a business person without sounding overly formal. You have to edit it very little, if at all. So you can send that as an email. You can send it directly to your CRM. It just checks so many boxes for you at once. If you want a walkthrough of what that is and how I use it, both in CS and in coaching, I will put that up on YouTube so that I can get a little bit more into detail without confusing the people who are listening on audio. But yeah, that's really what it does, is it takes away a lot of that admin work. It helps you focus on your client, really take in what they're saying. It helps you share information with other departments, and it helps you save certain parts of the conversation. Okay, so following in the AI vein is Claude, which is the AI chatbot from Anthropic. It's supposed to be similar to ChatGPT. I actually find it to be really superior in terms of the quality of the writing it puts out. Now, I still wouldn't have it be a writer for me. Instead, with ChatGPT, it's just bizarre when I put anything in there. If I have it try to write the notes for one of these podcasts, it just goes wild and starts putting analogies about pirates and unicorns and how we're all astronauts on a rocket ship. I don't know, but it's painful. I end up always feeling like I do not know why I spent time on this. I should have just done it myself. It would have been faster and better. The other thing is with ChatGPT, in order to upload a document or have more than a certain amount of words, you have to have the pro version. I'm sure there's a limit on words in Claude, but I haven't found it yet, and I use it kind of all day long. The fact is, I'm trying to learn this because it is going to be part of our lives. I'm trying to get better at using these tools. I find the learning curve is a lot less steep with Claude. Again, that's through Anthropic, but it's just Claude.ai, Claude. Again, no affiliation, just finding it was such a revelation. In terms of using these chatbots, what I do recommend is just keeping it open throughout the day. And if there's something that you're not quite figuring out easily, just kind of imagine it's there to be your friend to bounce something off of, or somebody really smart to bounce something off of. If I'm feeling a little bit lazy, if I'm like, how do I tell this client that what they're asking me to do is not something that's really going to work out well for them? Like, here's how I'm thinking it. Can you help me say this in a better way that's going to come out better, or that's going to sound more professional? You know how you can't have these things really search the web for you? What you can do is you can go to a web page and print that web page to PDF, upload the PDF to one of these things like Claude or ChatGPT, and ask the questions you want to ask about what is on that web page. So that's something you could do about a client, get the details of their company. The same thing on press releases. You could go look up press releases, just PDF all of them and do a summary, like, what do I need to know before meeting with this client based on this? It's great for non-business things like, okay, here's what I have in the fridge. What the heck do I have for dinner? Just anything that you can think of where you would have to think about something too much and you're just not really sure. Or if I have a presentation to make, I'm not very visual. So I'll say, this is what I want to come across. Tell me some ideas for what could be on the slides. It's going to be like that. Outsource the annoying little things that you don't want to do, that you don't want to look up, think about. That's what it's really great for. I find Claude to be much more natural in its language, a much better writer, and a lot easier to use. Okay. Ooh, I'm so excited about this one. Loom. I have been a huge proponent of what I call 2-minute videos. Rather than having big, long trainings, I'm a much bigger fan of creating a knowledge center filled with, you guessed it, 2-minute videos, 2 minutes and under. Interestingly, when I came up with this originally, 2-minute videos was great. It was a great amount of time. People were totally willing to sit down and watch 2 minutes. Now, if it's over a minute, you're pushing it. All right. I think a minute's fine. 30 seconds is great if you can. Just a quick little, almost a GIF to show what someone needs to do. Anytime that you are trying to show a customer how to do something, anything you'd walk through with them on the phone or on a Zoom, you can just do it via Loom and send it to them. You don't have to have a meeting. And I don't know about you, I am always happy when I don't have to have a meeting with someone. Not that I don't love people, it's just, it's an extra 15 minutes of how are you and oh, the weather and how are your kids? Lovely, but eats up a lot of your day. When the fact is they just want to know, hey, where is this button? You can, as people ask you questions, as you're doing trainings, as you're doing calls, you can share your screen and talk over it. You can do this with Fathom too. You share your screen, talk over it, explain exactly what you're doing. And now you have instructions for the person that needs them, and you can also upload it to a library as a how-to for anyone else who wants to know how to do this. Now you don't have to walk through it 1,000 times. You can just point them to this link that will do it for you. Now, that's great as it is, but they have recently added on an AI component where it'll give you the transcript. But what you can do in this case now is say edit document, and there's an option to create SOP. So it will take whatever you said, walking through it, and actually create an SOP document, a standard operating procedure document. That's basically like, here's what this is, here's why we do it, here's the steps, 1, 2, 3, some things to keep in mind, be careful of XYZ. And this way you now have materials for 2 learning modalities. Both people who like to read things, I like to skim things until I find what I'm looking for. I don't want to sit there through a video, through whatever they have to say. A lot of people prefer video because they don't want to sit there and read, whatever it is. So now you have 2 different learning modalities. If you're someone who wants screenshots too, you could also use Scribe. You can turn that on at the same time, and it will do like a step-by-step by clicks and take pictures of where you clicked on various buttons. I often find that to be a little bit overkill, but you can do it and it doesn't take any more effort on your part. Loom will also create an email summary of what you've talked about to send to the person, or a little AI summary of what you're talking about in the video. These are all things that take time and effort to do. And just having something that will do it for you for really low price, I don't know, $14 or something like that a month. I don't know about you, I'm more than happy because my time is worth more than $14 an hour. And I would definitely take more than an hour a month writing these things out. I talk about $10 an hour tasks, $100 an hour task, $500 an hour task. This takes a $10 an hour task and turns it into a $100 an hour task, which is I'm creating something that is a reusable reference that gives me back my time to invest in things that are going to benefit my business, those higher level strategies. Anytime you're trying to scale too, and you have new hires, new CSMs, having this kind of thing where you're walking through it once and then there's also documentation, so much easier, so much faster to get everyone up to speed. All right. Trello, an oldie but goodie. Even though we're in a little bit of a fight right now, me and Trello, because they changed some of their pricing and what used to be free is no longer free, I still really do love it for its simplicity. And this is something that I use in all life when things are flying at me a million miles a minute. Everybody has something they want from me. Everyone has something they want me to do, advice they want me to give them, something they want me to talk to them about. Before I can even prioritize any of that, I need to get it all in one place. This is how I am, because if I don't, I will forget about it. If you have a fantastic short-term memory, good for you. I do not. It helps me to see it in one place so I can see that this is more important than that. It also helps me see all in front of me. Here's all the things that are asking for my attention. I can see with a list that long, no, I can't say yes to every single one of those things. So what I'll do is whoever's written me, whoever's Slacked me, I will just say, got it, thanks, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And it'll go just sort of into my Trello, into my triage inbox is what I call it. And it's just a board. Anything that I get gets sent there. And then a few times a day, I look there and I move things over from triage to do, if it's an action item, and from the to-do list to today, if it's something I want to work on today. I do not tend to bring over more than 3 things per day. Even that's very ambitious. The other things that go in triage are like, oh, that's a cool article. I want to save it to my reference folder, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now because I'm doing other things. So all the things that just kind of need to be processed, need to be put somewhere, I need to decide what to do with them. All of them go into this initial triage folder in Trello. And I take it from there, whether it's a to-do or not. And if it is a to-do, is it worth doing? Does it have to be done by me? Does it have to be done now? And what would happen if I said no to this person? This is something that I use to just keep track of everything that's being asked of me. And if it starts to get overwhelming, that means I need to say no more, which I don't like to do. But having that visual representation of it helps me see that earlier rather than just powering through trying to get everything done for everyone and burning myself out before realizing that I've tried to do too much and resenting people for wanting things from me, especially since I probably offered, which I'm getting a little better about, but I like helping people. And a lot of CS people do like helping people. So if that's the case with you, this is a really helpful thing to do to keep you based in reality in terms of what it's possible for you to do in terms of helping. The other things that I use Trello for are, I have a reference board, because you know how sometimes you get a webinar or an article or something and you're like, oh, that's really interesting. I want to look at that. I'm not doing that right now, but I don't want to lose it. So it sits in your inbox forever. And then eventually you delete it because you're like, well, I haven't watched it or read it by now. I guess I'm not going to. There is a happy medium here because I don't like that stuff sitting in my inbox. So what I do here is I take a Trello board that's just reference, and I have different columns on a board for different categories for CSMs: onboarding, adoption, expansion, renewal, advocacy, customer advisory boards, risk and expansion plays, playbooks, whatever you can think of, and just throwing things in those categories. And then when it's time for me to work on one of those, that's when I go there and say, all right, what do I have on this already that looked cool or that I've seen and know is good? It's all there. that is what I've used over 10 years of that kind of thing is what I used to build the resource library for Customer Success Leadership Academy. And I keep it fresh. There are things in there like lots of stuff on NPS that maybe I'm probably not using anymore, from 5-10 years ago when people cared about that. You want to keep it relevant, the things in there, but it really doesn't take much of your time. It just allows you to keep really good information without going nuts. I use it for projects. To-dos are not projects. Projects are kind of like your quarterly rocks, your OKRs, the big goal that you have for that quarter. That's a project. And then you have 1 or 2 of those a quarter. And what I always try to do is work on one of those main projects for 1 hour a day, just following one of those little steps on my project board. But I don't want it mixed in with all the other to-do list stuff, which is probably not as important long-term, but has to be done fairly quickly. Keeping them separate helps me not put things that are essential to hitting my KPIs, but maybe not urgent for tomorrow. It helps me not put those off. And then finally, I have my meetings board, which is just a list of people that I meet with regularly. And whenever I have an idea about I want to ask this person a question, or I want to talk to this person about something, I throw a card under their name with whatever it is. And that way, the next time we meet, I have a full agenda that I can send them. It's like, here's a few things I'd like to cover. And you don't have to deal with that thing where you end up on a call with them and you just sit there staring into space, frustrated, saying, I know there was something I wanted to talk to you about. I have no idea what it is right now, but I know it will come back to me. You want to have that stuff at your fingertips so that you can get through it and get done. People love it when you have your ducks in a row in that way. I love it when other people do. I love it when I do. It's just more professional than showing up and being like, oh, what should we talk about? I don't know. This is how you can have an agenda for every meeting. If you don't have anything on there and it's time to meet with that person again, it's okay to say, hey, do you have anything in particular that you need to talk about today? Because I'm really good. It makes it clear whether there are items to talk about. And again, it'll keep things from falling through the cracks. It will keep you from forgetting. So that's how I use Trello. And in CS Leadership Academy, I actually give my students a copy of my Trello boards to make for themselves, like a blank copy, so they can have the boards with all the project labels and set up exactly the way I do it so that they can have that ready to go for themselves. Because it does take some setup, at least half, usually more. Say it's an absolute game changer for them. It's allowing them to keep track of everything. It was how I got more than should have been humanly possible done in my role as a CS leader. It was just because I knew where everything was and it wasn't taking up space in my brain trying to remember it all. Because anytime that I'm sitting there trying to remember to do something, oh, don't forget this, don't forget this, don't forget this, that is taking up working memory. Okay, the next one is really fun. This one is called Goblin.tools. It's just a little free AI tool. There's a chef thing where you can put all the food you have in your fridge. It'll tell you what to eat. It has a judge, which will let you put something that someone wrote to you and say, am I misreading the tone of this? It has a professor, which says, give me the crash course in this or that. But really, the one that I use is the magic to do. As I said, I have a project board. These are the things for my large initiatives. I think it's really important to take large initiatives and break them down into small, manageable chunks. Eat the elephant one bite at a time. Today, when I'm working on this initiative, my job today is to contact 6 people about their experience using my product, as opposed to redo customer experience or optimize onboarding. It's kind of vague. It's kind of too big. You need to know, what do I need to do today? I have an hour. I don't have time to sit around figuring out, what does that even mean that I do? I want to actually use that hour taking action, taking steps. So what you do there is you just add a new item, and I'm going to say define customer onboarding process. What do I do then? I click a plus to add it. The nice thing is it will break down the item into specific to-dos. Identify the stages, determine the necessary information from the customer, develop a timeline for each stage, create a communication plan, and on and on. And if any one of those items feels too big or feels a little too amorphous, or unspecific, I can click the button next to that and it will break that down into smaller chunks for me too. This saves my sanity all the time. So those are the more tactical, practical, help you get your day job done. The rest is more mindset, life hacks, so to speak. The first one I have mentioned before, I will mention it till I'm blue in the face, BrainFM. This is an app on your phone that helps you focus. There are different modes in here. There's focus, relax, sleep, and meditate. But even within those, if I go to focus, which is usually the main one I do, there's deep work, motivation, creativity, learning. So those things where I'm going to be in like a flow state, it gets me there so fast. So the way it does it is by making the sound slightly louder and quieter in sort of a rhythmic way that you really don't notice, it gets your brain waves to sync in a certain way. I can just tell you, you don't need to know or understand any of this for this to work. You get the app, turn it on, and you are going to be locked in moments. I know for me that when I have a lot to get done and I have a lot of focused work to do at the computer, this is my number one go-to. The funny thing is, because this is reality and I'm not perfect and I can't take my advice all the time, about half of the time what happens is in the morning, which is when I do my focused work, I will intend to turn it on. So I'll have my headphones in, knowing that I want to turn that on and do focused work. I will forget to turn it on and I'll get distracted and do a bunch of different things, but I'll have my headphones in until they actually run out. But that intention was there, which is why they're still in my ears. And then I remember, oh shoot, that's because I was supposed to turn on BrainFM. Oops, I probably would have gotten more done. I'm a human too, folks. I intend to use it every day, even if I don't. The times I do, I'm really glad I did. Coming up next is sleep cycle. Why the hell is Rachel talking to me about sleep on a podcast about psychology and customer success? If you've been doing any sort of reading about health in the past 5-10 years, sleep is so crucial to our health, to our cognition, like our ability to think straight, work well. It really allows the hormones in our brain that control a lot of things to get them to work optimally. You need sleep. What this does is it will tell you not just how well you slept, but how deep your sleep was. My favorite thing about it is you set your alarm. I hate alarms. I hate waking up to alarms. I hate waking up. The nice thing is you put it next to your bed and it's basically based on your breathing or how much you're moving, but it can tell when you're in a lighter sleep stage and it will start waking you up like gently with quiet music at the lightest point of your sleep stage, so long as it's within half an hour of the wake time you've set, so that it will be the least groggy of any of the wake times. You know how sometimes your alarm goes off and it's right in the middle of a dream and you feel disoriented and everything. And sometimes it goes off and you're like, oh, I think I would maybe kind of close to awake anyway. That's what this will do. All right, coming up next, the 5-minute journal. And no, I'm not asking you to journal about all of your feelings. There is an app or there is a book. All it is a few prompts. This is one of those things that has made such a huge difference on my happiness level in life. I'm sad I didn't learn about it as a kid. I try and teach my kids about this. They're a little resistant now, but I really wish I knew how effective it was before I was like 29. And I feel fortunate that I do now because a lot of people still don't. So first thing in the morning, you go in there right when you wake up, before you start flipping through Instagram and your email. Do this first. You can do that next, but just get this done first. It will immensely change your perspective the rest of the day. So the first thing, write 3 things you are grateful for. It says get specific, use details to describe what you're feeling grateful for. It even gives you prompts. And not just saying, oh, I'm grateful for my partner. Great. Why? I want every time you say what you're grateful for, say because of how they make you feel, because of what they do. Why are you grateful? Saying the why helps you to feel the actual gratitude. If you want to take it a step further, which I recommend you do, you can actually thank that person that day. or let them know, hey, I'm really grateful that you always empty the dishwasher because I forget a lot and I know that's annoying and I appreciate you for that. Stupid little things like that. There's no reason to keep gratitude to yourself. But if you want the easy route, just write 3 things down in the morning with the why you're grateful. Once you've done that, there's just one more question. What will I do to make today great? Small, achievable, so that you can actually complete them. Doesn't have to be more than one. It can be something so small as I'm going to really enjoy my first sip of coffee, because that's always just like a religious experience for me every day. Just like that. Nobody talked to me. That first sip of coffee I love it. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to actually put my phone down and snuggle my kids, or I'm going to watch this really trashy television show that I like. By actually thinking about what am I going to do to make it a good day, I'm much more likely to do it. Good days don't just happen. I mean, they can, but they're a lot more infrequent when you don't make a practice of saying, what am I going to do to make it a good day? It's not up to anyone else to give you a good day. And while I do recommend the things that you're grateful for be different every day, because if you're just doing the same thing over and over every day, it kind of falls flat. Try and find new different things, even if they're tiny, even if it's like, oh, a bird pooped yesterday a foot from me. I'm really glad that wasn't on my head. That would have ruined my day, and it didn't happen. Because when you know you're going to have to do this, and you know it's going to have to be different all the time, you start keeping an eye out through the day for things that you can put in there. And it starts making you notice all the things to be grateful for in the day. That is really why this works, is it starts to just open your eyes to all the things around you. Pretty great. And it's like, oh, I have to do this for homework. So it's a reflex. It's really cool. It also prompts you for an affirmation. I've never been a big affirmation person in terms of saying them. I do have another kind of woo-woo tool I use called Mind Tools, which is, I don't know how secure it is. I'm a little iffy on recommending it to others, but what it does is it will flash affirmations on your screen at 1/10 of a second. So you just kind of see a little flash of something. You don't see the words, but your brain processes it. So you can program affirmations into that. But for me, just saying them out loud, I feel kind of awkward. This is a way for me to use them without feeling awkward. Because if I am feeling awkward, that's not the point of an affirmation. The idea is to get your subconscious to believe that fact. So that's the preferred way to do it. Then in the evening, before you go to bed, what were highlights of the day? What were the best parts of the day? So you can look back on it and be like, oh, these were the nice things that happened today. And again, you'll start taking note of these things throughout the day. Okay, so this can be something that's a highlight of the day. All right, check. I know what to do then. So I don't have to sit around thinking when I want to be going to bed or I want to be scrolling my phone. The last 2 are bullet journal. And I know that's very, 2015, 2012. I don't know what it is. I still use it, maybe not to the degree that I used to. I used to try and make it really pretty. Now I really just use it because when I write something down with a pen and paper, it clarifies it for me. So if I really feel like I have a lot on my plate, I will write down the things I want to get done that day, not just use my Trello, but actually use a pen and paper. And here are the meetings I have. Here are the things I want to get done. And I'll just X them out throughout the day, more like a paper to-do list. Also, just for the psychological benefit of seeing that, yeah, I did stuff today. I got these things done. Whereas with a digital to-do list, you check it off and it's gone. And it's like it never happened. And it feels like you're not making any progress. Just seeing all the things I checked off, there's some sort of psychological satisfaction in that and relief that, yes, I feel like I've worked hard. I can see that I can see that I've done things. But I also use it for things like planning out my week, planning out my year, saying, what do I want to do in this year? What do I want that to look like quarter by quarter? And how can I break that down month by month, week by week? That's how you can actually set goals that get accomplished. Those big goals turn into more manageable chunks. I do that at the beginning of the year. I always do an annual reflection. And then every quarter at the beginning of the year, I set up what I want my year to look like. Just very broad goals for each quarter. Start of the quarter, I break down the broad goals. I do a setup every month. This is what I know I have coming up this month. This is what I'm trying to accomplish this month. How can we make these things fit together? Can we even make these things fit together? And the nice thing about that is it's really just a catch-all for anything. I want to remember this thing. I have an idea. It's something that I do not just for a paper to-do list, but also just little things I want to remember. I'll put a little heart next to things. My kid will have said something really cute and I want to remember it forever. Yesterday, my 5-year-old told me that I should have a gold tooth because that would look good. I doubt I'll ever hear anyone tell me that again. And it struck me funny. So I put it in there. I do flip back through these every now and again. And it's enjoyable to be able to look back at your life. The other thing I do with my bullet journal is a 1-sentence journal. So I write one sentence that sums up what the day was. So today would be, I recorded a podcast, my son was home, and we cooked burgers. I mean, nothing crazy. It's not terribly exciting, but that's what my day was today. All right. On Saturday, I'll go see the Statue of Liberty, things like that. Am I going to pour over it at any point? I don't know. But it's a nice way to mark life instead of letting it just kind of flip by you without ever noting whatever happened. I mean, there are a lot of years that I don't remember. It would be just kind of cool to look back and say, what was going on then? And I've been doing this since around 2017. Some years I do more than others, but on the years where I do it, it's really nice to just be able to look back and know where my life went. And the same way that it's nice being able to see where my day went, it's nice being able to see where my life went. Every second doesn't have to mean something, but spending a day recording a podcast, spending time with my family, that's cool. I helped some people. I did what was important. Good. And finally, courses. And I mainly mean like online coaching, things like that. I am not saying this just because I have one. I have one because these things changed my life. I hadn't taken a course until 2022, I think, when I wanted to start a business. And it just blew me away how much I could learn and implement when I wasn't just trying to read a book and do it on my own, but had prepared learnings and group situation where I could get together with people and get coached in it and do the learning on my own and then come and get help with it. Just also having other people around to have a community with, be held accountable. That is something that for me made a huge difference in my life and continues to. And I continue to invest in a course or coaching multiple times a year. I'm never not in one. That's one of those things that, yes, after my family goes to bed, I do watch trashy shows and eat gummy bears, but first, before I do that, I do try and watch one lesson of whatever it is that I'm currently learning. Right now, a lot of it's marketing or neurolinguistic programming, things to do with psychology that happen to interest me. I was doing a lot of how to start up the operations of a business, sales, things like that. When I started doing this, there weren't a lot of courses in CS. There was success coaching for CSMs, but for CS leaders, there really wasn't a lot. And there's a lot more nuanced stuff around there. So whether it's me or someone else, or whether it's CS or not, if you want to take a course on how to make cookies with really pretty icing, go do it. If you want to learn how to race mountain bikes, you're probably going to need to get on a bike, but just get involved in something where you're learning more. I don't do resolutions, but that's always been one of my main, where I have to learn something new every year. And this has given me a new way to do that. And it's just given me so much back in my life. It keeps me interested in life and excited. So that is really all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. There will be links in the show notes for everything I talked about today. If you end up using any of these, please tell me. I want to hear about your experiences with it. I want to know if it helped you. I really do think you're going to find at least one thing on here that can be really helpful to you. Give it a shot. If it's not for you, okay, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you like the kind of things I teach and you're interested in leveling up your CS strategy, team leadership, and executive presence, Make sure to get on the VIP notification for CSLA so you'll be the first to know when the doors open back up. So that's provansuccess.com/CSLA. And until next time, take care of yourself, get some rest, and make sure to share this with your CS bestie. Talk soon. Here's to your success.